You know, this guy Danny Kruger has stayed in government as well, which is good to hear. Actually, out of what this is the honest truth. Actually, out of all of the when I do watch any Parliament broadcasts or any Parliament meetings or interviews, I actually like this Danny Kruger guy. He's one of the MPs that when he speaks, I actually think that he's honest and trustworthy, and that he's really. I mean, I actually think that when I used to see the Lib Dems, in the past, Nick Clegg, Nick Clegg's ended up working for Facebook and got in with Zuckerberg and the whole kind of globalist kind of thing, but. Nick Clegg sort of had this kind of image, that was meant to be about Clegg had this image. Clegg actually had was meant to give out this kind of like middle of the road image, this kind of like all round fair person image, and I don't actually end up thinking that he really is, to be honest. But I actually get the feeling that Kruger is more the type of person that I thought Clegg was, but hasn't turned out to be. I think Kruger. I think Kruger should actually be in charge of the Tories, in the leader of the opposition. He's an actual brilliant MP, is Kruger. He's not some sort of maverick like Johnson or Cameron, elite maverick. I think Kruger is more a well-balanced person in respect of everyone in the country, in the best interest. I also think apparently the Stonehenge Alliance was saying that they're getting support against the tunnel from the Conservatives. So I think that Kruger might actually be on the side to oppose it. It was all Shapps, wasn't it? It was all about Grant Shapps, but Grant Shapps has lost his seat now. It was also, then he moved from transport to defence. But it would, I'd like to see Kruger replace Sunak as the leader of the Conservatives, particularly with a very, very strong Liberal Democrat presence in Parliament, and the threat of Starmer threatening to, change or even abolish, building and planning objection rules when the Labour have cheated, and the Tories, they've cheated the building and planning rules. They weren't even abiding by the building and planning rules. People weren't getting even notified about objecting to things, and it's never fair. They don't do it by the rules when people petition and object anyway. There are so many groups when people are panicking and frantic about what's being done to their areas. Starmer's absolutely, lunatic if he wants to try and change the planning. And actually, at the end of the day, it's actually court. It's actually a court case. And, with Starmer, with his history in the Crown Prosecution Service, a planning application is court of civil requests. You're requesting if you can do something, and you have to go to court, and you get judgment by your peers whether you can do it or not in a court, right? Not Tory Labour councillors, pro-building councillors, pro-Labour councillors judging it, because then it's a political party is dictating what happens and not the actual people and voters who are affected. People who we elect are meant to be facilitators, to facilitate proceedings and to work in government, not actually, to be honest, to make the votes and decisions. In a magistrate's court, we're meant to have a jury. And to be honest, a lot of the huge building projects, corporate ones that have caused a lot of the obesity and cancers and pollution, wouldn't have had permission to build if people who are happy with their towns, people who are happy with their villages or are happy with their area, a lot of them, it's been forced on them. And that is because, and then, what happens if you have a judicial review in front of judges? We probably have juries then. Labour have got serious problems because there are there's policies of selflessness, but they're not, because Starmer's there saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this. We're going to have growth, whether you like it or not." It's like, "Oh, we're Labour. You've elected us to represent you in government," but for some reason they think, "Oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that." But the thing is, whenever anyone has or does do building, they don't always do it out of their goodness of their heart, just for benefits of persons. They're usually doing it to make money out of it for profit, which is the wrong reasons. And when people don't like it or want it, they've been cheated, swindled and tricked. And you can't get rid of the right to object to building and planning. It's not possible, because at the end of the day, it is a court request. You're making an application. You're putting a case to the council of whether you can build or not, right? And they've got to prove the case. And the respondents are the public, right? But you've also got petition, which is, when you're actually not just having the jury there, if it was Court of Civil Requests and you had a jury or a random jury, or even if it's if the councillors are voting, the actual people who it affects, the actual people who live there, if they get a petition with an extremely large number of signatures, you can't build something somewhere where the actual people who live there don't want it there, no matter how much money you've got, no matter how strong your case is, because you're getting judgment of the peers. You have to, build it somewhere else. That's essentially it. And I'm actually going to try and find out a little bit more about exactly the differentiation between the jury and the petitioners, because when you're bringing a petition, you're actually bringing a case. So the thing is, when you're the applicant in a planning application, you're actually bringing the case. But the thing is, when you bring a petition to the council, you're the people bringing a case that you want this or you want that, or you don't want this or that. It's a separate case. But the thing is, petitions are amalgamated together on the same subject, or they need, this is why in court you have to have the needs of other cases. Therefore, actually, really, if a petition case is a case, right? I don't know why this advert keeps going to... So if we understand and recognise a petition as a case, you're bringing a case, regardless of whether it's you want to get divorced, or whether it's a prosecution, or whether it's a civil dispute. The petition, you are bringing a legal case, and not only are you bringing a legal case, you're getting people to sign it, which is evidence, part of the evidence. You don't only have statements and facts, you actually have evidence of public concern, and the stronger the evidence of public concern. But the thing is, if you have a ward, once you get so much public concern, you have got the right to referendums, local referendums, but you can even design referendums and the rules for them in politics. And the thing is that it doesn't say what the area of the referendum is. You can actually have a referendum in a ward, because a ward's a designated polling area, voting area. And the thing how they've got the juries is that the juries are based from the Representation of the People Act now, from the Electoral Register. The way that the jury's set up now is that you get the Electoral Register and randomly pick so many people, right? So it's actually, it's polling. It is actually from polling. And really, the jury verdict in the court now is the poll of the people at random, really, on the conscience of a fair random, public. But the thing is, what is a fair random public if someone's going to build something where everyone lives and affects them? But the thing with the jury, it goes on majorities and percentages, right? And the thing with the jury is that if one person, objects or doesn't agree, you've got to have all. Now, the judge, I mean, if one person, they've got to have a unanimous decision, and then I think the judge can go on to another model, which is 1/3, 2/3, right? If the judge doesn't like that, he goes on to 2/3, right? But if you ever have a complete majority, you can't do it. So if you get a petition and you get the whole ward, it's not just a random selection of people, it's every single one of them. And I actually I think that if in building and planning, if you want to do it honestly and sincerely and correctly, and you're not a scamster like many politicians are, and you actually believe in justice and what the voters want, not just a political party wants to do to the country, but what the country wants done to it, then really, in any building and planning application, if you there should be a process whereby you can actually either, the government, because it doesn't cost that much to get flyers done for like a ward, really. And in fact, there's a maximum spend on polling a ward even to have a building in use, which is about £800. Now, really, that, I don't see how any developer, just because they've got hundreds of thousands of pounds and can throw money that they're making out of other people, money's not supposed to buy you things in politics and in court, because you're buying justice. And if all of the councillors who are voting on it, the Labour councillors, are pro McDonald's or pro building, that's not justice at all, So there should be a process whereby if any of the citizens strongly object to any building application, there should be a process by which they can apply for or get a ward poll. And if that ward poll is unanimous in its decision, or even use the jury model, 2/3, then I don't think that they should be allowed to build there, rather than having to make all these, make a case, how many newts are going to be poisoned, or how many owls in the trees, or how much noise it's going to be. It's Magna Carta is meant to be it can be by rule of law or by, what the people want. So, that's fair. Because fair enough, I mean, if one person objects, then maybe they'll never build anything. But they've got one person can object to a wind turbine being put up if one person objects. But this is the thing. They haven't been putting the notices up, and people didn't know that there was a wind turbine going up on many occasions, and they could have objected. So there's a lot of building being putting through because people weren't aware. And that's no way to run a country. That's no fairness. That's like backhanders and backsliding and cheating, which the prosecution cheat a lot. This is how prosecution win many cases, and I've had a lot of experience with them. There's a lot of cheating of the rules going on, even though Keir Starmer, nothing past my desk, I'm a legitimate person running by the rules. Yeah, if they get called out, like if his candidate, makes a racist comment or whatever in public, then he can't duck and dive it. But otherwise, all the really, really serious stuff that Labour have done wrong is brushed under the table, and they don't want to admit it, So, 2/3 is fair, because that's what the judge can go on to from, if there's an issue with the result that he's not happy with, he can go on to, a 2/3 of the jury vote. That's what they do in a court. You know, if you go in a court of law with extremely serious crimes, right, and you go on, you know, 2/3 of a random jury, why should it be any different for a building application? Just because the applicant, just because the plaintiff, just because the person who's bringing a case can afford it. Labour are meant to be against Tories and rich people, but, you know, Starmer just wants to, you know, put his foot pedal to the metal and build to oblivion. But he's meant to be a man who believes in justice. Why would you build something in a ward, regardless of what party they voted for, if they didn't want that particular building there, if 2/3 of the people didn't want it there? Why would you? It's insane. No one in their right mind would pass a building application in a ward where 2/3 of the public didn't want that building there, or didn't want a building to be changed, liked it as it was, because that's justice, and that is meant to be what it's founded on. Otherwise, you know, the model of reality is based on how much money you are, how rich you are. And I thought we'd meant to have left that behind. This was when only landowners could vote. You know, only people who own land can vote. Only men can vote. Oh, that didn't last for long, did it? So the Labour Party now only exists because everyone can vote. And working class people can vote, not only rich landowners, right? So how could the Labour Party, you know, who in their right mind in any country would allow a building application of any kind, even houses, multiple houses, or a new factory, or McDonald's, or whatever it is, if 2/3 of the people in that ward didn't want it there? And as your, you know, it's £100,000 factory, which is going to change the place forever. What is £800 to the community if they want to pull the ward on it? It's literally, you know, I'm not saying that the government should pay for it if they invoke this special process, but there should be a very defined, if you collect 5%, or if you go out and you collect 100 or, you know, even 5% of the ward signatures of your own, you know, going out and getting them, even on paper or by email or whatever, all verified from that area, why and shouldn't you be entitled for that council to pay to poll that ward and that planning matter? In fact, if any builder who's got money, who's rich enough to have money, profits, right, to throw around and do what he wants with, even if he says he's doing it for the good out of his heart to provide housing, right? He's throwing, you know, thousands of pounds at the architect. He's throwing thousands of pounds, you know, just to get a model or to whatever. So what is £800? It really isn't much, you know. And at the end of the day, you know, pay for costs, you know. You know, maybe he should have to, maybe the applicant, you know, as part of the design and plans submitted to the council, if they've, you know, got to get their balls out, I've got to pull my balls out, you know, I've got balls, I've got Dutch courage, I've got money, you know, there's like, you know, £2,000 to an architect to draw me some plans up to put on the table to the council. Well, how about why doesn't, you know, if someone collects, you know, 5% of the electorate's signatures in that ward to show that at least 5% are, you know, they're not just turning the blind eye, they don't have no interest at all, they're like, just a minute, what's going on here, right? Then I think that the applicant should have to pay £800 to Paul Atward because they've got the Dutch courage and balls to get the architect to draw the plans and gamble. It's like roulette gambling, right? Oh, I've got, £100,000 to knock around, I'll get some architect plans up and I'll propose some houses, he gets his balls out on the table. Well, we'll see you Paul Atward then and see if we want it, in this area, I don't care who's in, there is no control of the council because they're all selfless. It can't exist. It's a defect in politics. So, and if 2/3 of the public don't oppose it fairly in a local ward poll, right, then he can build it. And he can actually recover the costs for that poll, right? He can recover the cost for that poll if the public don't vote against it, right? And if they do oppose it, then he's lost his money for his building plans. It's not much money really to Paul Atward, and even for flyers, or even if there's a council computer system, it's very fair. It results in a lot less upset and all these Facebook groups frantically panicking and tearing their hair out and spending their whole life having to panic or chaos about, the cherished Greenbelt or Ponyfield or whatever it is. It just solves problems. And then the applicant, the gambler, the man who's, filled his boots with everyone else's money because he's been selling them McDonald's and, making them all obese or cancerous. It's his gamble, whether he wants to, we'll see. We'll put some money on the table then. That's my issue with Starmer's whole philosophy and model, because he's meant to be a guy who stands for human rights and fairness, and then, find some, they've got money. Go on Google Maps. This is what they're doing. They're going around Google Maps. Oh, that building looks nice. Oh, what building? It's gone. I've just demolished it. It went for a good price. Oh, loads of people like that building in the area. Now they're good. They used to wake up in the morning and walk past it. I like that building. This is why I live and breathe. So I've got £50,000 and you don't like it now, do you? It's like some sort of gambling casino, just because you've got money to throw in it. They need to start actually gambling with it. They can pay for the poll. If they're paying for the architects, right, if they're building it out of the goodness of their heart to provide housing to people who don't have good housing, or to provide a McDonald's to people who are starving, I'm doing it out of the goodness of my heart for the Labour Party because of poor people. But what if 2/3 of the people don't want it there? This is it, right? And if they do want it, then, they can, help them carry the freaking bricks. They'll be cheering. They won't be voting against it, polling against it in the ward. They'll be helping them carry the freaking bricks. This is it. It's so little amount of money compared to the, all the money going into the building plans that he's gambling in case it gets rejected and so forth. So, it just solves all of arguments. It solves all these protesting arguments, everything. And then if Starmer truly believes that the people want housing and building, well, prove it. Prove it in the poll. Let's shuffle the jury in the ward to get them out. 2/3 of the jury in the ward. Let's see it. If you believe in courts, if you believe in what the people actually want and vote for, let's see it. Rather than just a bunch of councillors who, it's and also then builders will take more care in planning, take more care in thinking where they're going to build and where they can build, and there won't be all this cheating, not putting planning notices up, people not being notified about it, or sneaking the planning rules, or building it bigger than that they put on the plans, or whatever. All this corruption in the building trade, and also if this is it, people making modifications to things that actually a lot of people, what if if you've just got, I've got, 20 quid, I can go buy some burgers, right? Fair enough. If you've got 20 quid, you can go buy as many burgers as you want. It shouldn't be that, I've got, £200,000, so I can, go build some houses, or £2 million, or I can build some houses, build as many houses as you want, eat as many burgers as you want. This is the thing, just because they've got the money. Because otherwise, I think this is what the Lib Dems were getting at, building houses in the right places. Not just for the sake of it. And a lot, it is true, a lot of the health problems and food issues are because the food didn't go to the right places. Apparently people can't afford to eat. Food didn't go to the right places. So there's people starving, but other people who are obese. Food's not going to the right places. This is what happened with the building. And the reason the food didn't go to the right places is because they didn't build the right foods and build the food places in the right places, and it didn't get to the right people. It's all common sense and logic. It's very poorly managed and poorly thought out. And people should be notified. If there's a building there, right, and you look, if they're using Google Maps to scour the lands for what buildings are for sale and buying up, but they might be beautiful or pretty or charismatic or people that have a value to the community, right? Just because you've got, £1 million doesn't mean that you can just, scout Google Maps and buy up every building that's going for cheap, and demolish it or change it if it's got a significant value to the spirit, to the happiness, to the it's not money value. It is money value because it's like paintings of value. It's like a value of a painting, a Mona Lisa. Every building is a piece of artwork, really, and people, they've been just like, because they've been making loads of money out of other projects, they're just buying things and then, modify, change, adapt. But they haven't been just modifying, changing and adapting things. They've been, in a lot of instances, they've been completely writing it off and flattening it, like leaving one brick to get around rules. If you don't actually have your heart in a building, if you're just looking for development, you're looking for money opportunities, I'm looking for opportunities to make money, right? Profits. They're not actually... Starmer claims that, everyone wants new houses, right? That, when you've got sharks looking to make money out of properties and buildings, they're not doing it just for the good of everyone else. They're doing it to make money out of it, and because they've already made loads of money out of other projects, right? No one in their right mind should be able to buy a building if they don't love it and have the heart in it. I buy that building because I can afford it. They've got the privilege to afford it, but because I like it. You don't buy it because you don't like it. Now, if no one likes it, then fair enough. But if 2/3 of the village like it, and it actually makes them happy, and it's got some kind of religious, spiritual value in holding the spirits up, then why should someone with £2 million have the right just to come along in Google Maps, shark it out, buy it, and, not put a planning notice up, and then the next thing it's gone, flattened, or even, change all the front of it when everyone liked it, when 2/3 of the people liked it. They're just doing it. Money is the only reason, and that is what we need to stop. Because if they buy a building that you like or that no one likes, if you're going to buy a building and change it or demolish it, buy one that no one likes. No one in the area likes it, right? Everyone wants rid of it. But, someone might like it. And at least then they can, set out the reasons why they like it. This is what planning is meant to be. When you object to something, You're meant to say, that's your objection. You object to it, and actually, character and effects on the area are supposed to figure into it. But it's not working because they aren't putting notices up. They're cheating. And the council are doing juggling tricks with balls where councillors will all pop up and defend one area. Oh, the councillors are all behind this, opposing this. And then the other one, but the councillors have got their hands behind the back because they wanted another place to be built on. This is cheating. That's as dirty, basically, as this France, in this election in France, when they had these rounds of voting, and then just because a certain movement was going to take over, they pulled out just so another party wouldn't win. That's so despicable and dirty. And that is, in a way, the Labour Party just saying, we're just going to build everywhere. Tough, regardless of what people think or want in an individual instance, or what's better for an area in an individual instance, or whatever. So, maybe it might not work out for certain people, but at least you can. The thing is, if we can have ward polls for it, and if it's figured into the cost somehow to cover the costs, or work, even if the people have to raise their own money for it, even if they have to raise their own money for the poll, but if they win, they get it back, even if it's not the applicant who has to get the money, right? Like in a court case, in a civil court case, it should be like a civil court case, because really it's court of civil requests, At least then when when you have the referendum and petition, they can set out the reasons, they can set out a case, like you do in court, and explain to the public, to the people, when they do the mini referendum in the ward, explain to the people why they like a certain building and what they like about it. I go past this building every day. It means a lot to us. I like it because of this, or because of these trees and the position of them, and why that, and how I make it, how I think that it helps everyone's spirit be happy when they go past it. The value that's not money, the value that is non-monetary value to it, which developers don't seem to understand. They understand pound notes. They understand wads of £50 notes with elastic bands around, and trading in bricks of money. That's what they understand. They don't understand the spirit of a village, of what raises the spirit in a village and makes happiness. And then you've got Rishi Sunak, who's desperately scratching his head, going, what can we do about all this crime, all these criminals, all these youths with knives, what's making them sad and unhappy, Well, why is someone in America going and shut up the school, things like this. What is making these people unhappy? I can't put my finger on it. I can't imagine. But, I did used to walk past a pony every day and stroke its nose. And now it's a McDonald's drive-through. And, the roly-poly, Rumpole of the Bailey, there does a truffle shuffle. It's the Goonies. This is the problem with Labour. And I think it's because, maybe the spirit of Labour, like the spirit of Corbyn, is in his hat, in Corbyn's, and this is what Starmer doesn't particularly, support Corbyn in public ownership, or even, cobbled streets and, mills. Starmer's ejecting or rejecting celebrating being poor, celebrating the caricature of, although he said, my dad was a toolmaker, highly skilled, but Starmer doesn't seem to advocate, he's not like, he's not holding up, the Ladybird book, the Elves and the Shoemaker, and waving that when he wins the election, is he? He's not waving up, the Elves and the Shoemaker, But with the shoemaker, in a highly skilled shoemaker who was making shoes that were actually little elves made them for him. Maybe the little elves made Starmer's election win for him. Maybe some little elves came into Starmer's dad's tool shop, and little magic, and the election box filled up with ballots or something. It's all, bang, bang, corporate, do jet plane factory, boom, jet plane factory, boom, jet plane factory, whether you like it or not, and the big corporate art outside the front, and, don't you like this government? Some more greenery now. Corporate art, you can have a big, Coca-Cola logo, and some, neatly trimmed grass outside, never mind all this, curling orchards and overgrown, pony field, that's no value to anyone. Well, they're actually wrong. It does have a value, but there's no profit made out of it. This is where, I think, if no one's making money out of it, but there is a profit, the profit is in the spirit and happiness. But I don't think Rishi Sunak, he doesn't understand why the kids are going around with knives and stabbing everyone and they're depressed, right? I think he can understand that, going past a pony field with a rustic tree, I don't want that tree trimming back, I like it, it's not harming anyone. There's a value to it that's beyond money, pound notes in many people, It holds energy. This is where we get into the Royals and Charles and, all their preserved grounds and monuments and stuff. Yeah, ours are all being perpetually demolished and redeveloped. We don't have any history anymore, But yet Rishi values, what Rishi values is his, if he can set the temperature to his cup of coffee to exactly 6 degrees, Rishi's happy. And the added bonus that it's funny and a pun, it's got comedy value to him. The Extinction Rebellion are kicking off about the temperature of the planet. We've got to reach 2 degrees or 3 degrees or whatever. And Rishi is also going to make, X million billion pounds out of his temperature-controlled Bluetooth coffee cups. But he wants to try and, he's desperately trying to figure out, how can these youths be happy? How can the people be happy and not sad? And not committing crime? Why do they go to these other areas to commit crime? They even travel. They travel to these other areas to rob them. Well, at least there's something there to take their happiness. But where does the happiness come from? Not just from, their fridge full of, cans of Budweiser. Maybe actually because it's beautiful, but not beautiful just because it's bigger. Beautiful because there's value in things that are nice. This is it. The thing is, you get people like Rishi who have got these buildings and their corridors are filled with paintings. You walk down the corridor, there's a, £450,000 painting, right? His corridor's filled with artwork, you got his Versace painting or, a Mona Lisa or whatever it is, Da Vinci or Pollock or whatever, right? And all these paintings add up to, 10 million or whatever, and you get to the end of the corridor, but there's something missing when it comes to value with Rishi and his developers and Starmer. As you go through a village and there might be an old garage with old painted doors where the paint's peeling off it and a couple of daisies growing out of it or whatever, a daffodil or something, he doesn't see it as he's walking down the corridor in his house. That's my painting. It's, £20,000 painting, right? And there's another one down my corridor. They're all in my corridor in my house. He doesn't get it. So if no one's making a profit out of that old garage, right? But what if the village actually, if maybe until you ask them subconsciously, or even maybe get them to explain their own psychology, even set it out in a case, make a case to them. Someone wants to build a McDonald's here, but did you realise that this spot is quite beautiful and, it brings happiness to, these, two girls, and then even some of the women who drive past it, actually, did you realise that you like that? And then if it went, it's just like slipping from the mind, going from the mind, it's gone, and this is the thing, there are value to these things, like there are value to, but Labour, like, the thing with all this Labour Party, it's a Lindsay Oil and all that, if it's a statue of Winston Churchill, outside the railway station, the square concrete blocks of the railway station with a big, Winston Churchill to greet you, who could, I can't stop looking at it. I'm just, staring at a statue of Winston Churchill all day. I'll go and talk to him. Oh, don't worry, we're replacing those soon with a new speaking Winston Churchill hologram. No more statues. Now you can actually go and talk to Winston himself. I'm Winston Churchill. Like on that freaking Doctor Who program. With the hologram. But what about, the area that, did you know your parents? Did you know where they grew up? There's something about value that some people don't get, as long as it's, their value for profit. But yet, another mini-mart on the corner, then another mini-mart on the corner, then another mini-mart on the corner, and then everyone's, walking home with donuts and stuffed bread and, going diabetic. But yet, if they weren't, then, it's... These people need to get their. It's a tragic mashup of values, and the ones who have actually got the money to call the shots are the ones who are usually actually out for themselves in profits. Yet you've got Starmer now. Oh, I'm doing it for the good of the voters. I know all the Labour voters must want a new Coca-Cola factory here with corporate art outside it, because where else are they going to work? And then they can drink all that Coca-Cola after work, fill your boots with it, and then they can go piss it out in the toilet. This is the thing. The main mission of any political party that could propose any plan for England would be, let's have common sense. Let's have some better organisation. Let's have more thorough processes. Let's find out what people think and what they want. Not, now's the time for growth. I am the new post office lady, Chancellor of England, and I've got something very deep and profound to tell you. Here we go. Here's my chance in front of the whole country of England. The Chancellor, the Right Honourable Privy Councillor, Chancellor of England. Where's Penny Mordaunt gone with the King's sword? I don't know. Oh, she's been unelected like Liz Truss was, where's Penny Mordaunt gone with her sword? Oh, sorry, I'm the Chancellor now. Are you ready, everyone? Here we go. Ready for more growth. Growth. It literally is almost like a Liz Truss comedy sketch. In fact, Nireen Skinner needs to start switching over to some more of these Conservatives, like the Chancellor, in some of the comedy sketches. It's nearly as bad as a Liz Truss one, with the pork markets. Growth, getting bigger. And then, like, she rolls in from the side of the screen. Growth. We've got issues. You can't just be postmaster, because it's, how about, now is time for intelligence. Now is the time for thought, contemplation, reflection, problem solving. Labour's new mission is to solve all our problems, no arguments. how about all these radical political parties that are kicking off? No, growth, particularly on the oil rig, and in the banks, that are investing in all the, polluting products. It's disappointing. Such a disappointment that is the best, briefing they can come out with. Growth. At least Ed Davey was more to the point that, we've got a lot of challenges to face. There are a lot of problems that we've got, but there's also, potential to try to look at them and sort them out. That was a better speech, so... I'm not happy with Labour, no. And they haven't thrashed everyone. It isn't a landslide. They've managed to get a lot of MPs in government, even though the votes were quite... The other people were quite split and undivided. It's actually... The votes, some other parties have got a lot of votes, particularly like Reform got a lot of votes, and the Conservatives still got votes in certain areas. Labour haven't won. Starmer is lucky, really, extremely lucky that the Tories messed up, and it can happen again, So, there's nothing to celebrate for Labour, because we've got, there's Putin as well. It's a shame that we don't have an intelligence party. But then again, maybe not that all MPs are intelligent. So, the prospects of ever getting a party called, let's be intelligent for once. Justice.